Oh, that was the wrong one. Hello, and welcome to the delicious recipe here on UPRN. I'm trying out new things here. We're just checking out, see how this stuff works. Anyways, tonight's episode is the delicious recipe. It is the Caramilk secret. Let me see if I can turn that down a little bit. Background music. And as I said, we are on UPRN. If you're watching live, you can, actually live, this is a pre-record there today because I am still going to school at night there. So anyways, this one, the Caramel Secret, and it deals with the hidden places of Agartha. But also, if you're watching, you can check out later on YouTube. It is UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials. UFO Paranormal Radio. UFO Paranormal Radio is done twice. And also, we are also on all the other different platforms that are there. So as I'm looking through this all here and going through this stuff, I'm trying to get this to see how it works, but I guess it's not. But we're going to be looking at this area here, the hidden Earth, or the hidden subterranean Earth that is below, that has been written about in many, many, many different tales, lores, ancient texts. One is, oh, geez, the Epic of Gilgamesh talks about it, going to the underworld to find immortality. Admiral Byrd with Operation High Jump in his dealings of going up towards the North Pole and encountering a secretive race that was in contact with the superpowers to be there, but humanity has sort of shunned them, I guess, in a way. There's also talk about Shambhala, the hidden mystical realm in the hidden earth. There's Gartha, that, like we talked about. That's one of the names that it's given for this area. I also want to thank there too my helpful crew there. Hey, you, Kitty Pot, and Blaze, for helping with finding some of this stuff there and watching the ones and twos. But how do we start this off? I'm not sure. There's so many different histories and lore. Even if we go back into the part, we can actually even start off here too with Arumura. That's a place in Peru, and it's an ancient doorway in a rock, and in a rock, not a rock, but Arumura, called the Gate of the Gods, and this place there in Peru, the lore and temples, or the theory around there, is that there was a special key, a golden sun that fell from the heavens, from the sky, and this disc, when placed inside the doorway, opened up a portal to a different realm. That's one sort of theory, and then the theory that we're going to talk about there tonight is to deal with this family and the what did I say there? The Rorich, and there's the Rorich Pact that deals with with maintaining historical cultural artifacts so that they're not destroyed during times of war, that they're not taken and destroyed and stuff like that, so that information, that history, will not be lost, or those things. And if we look into I'll go into the Rourke stuff there, but in a bit, because that's the main part I'm going to go through with this part of the story there today. But a lot of things about this hidden earth sort of come up, and as I go through all my notes where I am here, the part is that there's always been this sort of this fantasy, or just this mystical area that is somewhere different than where we are. These stories sort of come up with little people, the fairies, and that, where they go to a different realm, which is sort of different, sort of a shimmer or a transcendence away from the reality that we know ourselves. And there's sort of interesting sort of theories that are around this, is that when you look into this part about missing people throughout the world, that sort of they're there 1 minute and they disappear, and then sometimes they show back up again, and they talk about being somewhere with different small creatures, big creatures. It goes into the Bigfoot area, goes into the fairies, little people, goes into that stuff as well. But a different sort of spatial time that's different from our own. And there is sort of some lore and stories of that where people have gone and walked and gone with these beings, whatever they are. They go under different names. Some of them can be evil, some of them can be good, some of them could be non anything, just existing out of a time and place. And as you go there, you could be there for 2 weeks, but actually 40 years could have passed. That all goes into the story. This is why I find this stuff sort of interesting. Maybe you out there listening will find this stuff interesting too. And you see this commonly through a lot of stories and in ancient cultures when they read when they talk about these things about the ancient past. A big common denominator that's always talked about is the flood. And every civilization has their own sort of flood story. They have their own sort of Adam and Eve story, the creation of the world, how humans came to be. You go into the Sumerian texts, you get into the part with Enlil and Enki and the creation of a lower hominid being that was around, and then they sort of helped with a DNA manipulation and created them to be helpers to mine the planet of gold. And I've always talked about this part about the importance of gold, and I've always asked that question: is why is gold so important? And I haven't come to that sort of that answer yet. I will keep on getting a lot of different mixed theories on this, but it just seems like it's an interesting sort of place to think about a rock being so more important, or maybe we don't understand the importance of what gold actually is, because it can't just be a thing for adornment to be over top of baubles and jewelry and statues and stuff like that. There's a whole theory about that gold represents the tears or of the sun because of sun worship in old religions or old mystic things. There, that gold was this sort of item that sort of shared their belief thing. Because, well, you got to look at what did a lot of people there have to deal with. They had to deal with getting food, right, and looking at seasons and looking at different parts of how our yearly ebb and flow of warm and cold work through there, so that they would have food to go through these cold cycles. And it's not all the same way through as you go towards the North Pole, as you go towards the South Pole, where seasons don't really matter. But it's when you get closer to the equator, you have like a growing season that is 365 days almost. And then when you have places like where I am up in northern Ontario, your growing season is sort of a little bit halted by winter and the freeze up. And the same thing that goes in towards when you look in the northern European cultures, when you get into the stuff with the Celts, and you get into all the different parts of the gods and all these, I'm saying gods, the small g gods, how things and their involvement in how people thought about how the world worked and how things were there until Christianity came into there and the Vatican, and they started going and conjoining with government powers to make a one world sort of theology and everything to sort of circumvent, and we're actually sort of join things together to make things a one sort of pattern thinking, to get this sort of I always sort of make this analogy of like another brick in the wall, the Pink Floyd song. Get everybody in line so that they follow. The sheep don't think about anything because they're told what the answers are, and this is how it is, and just keep on following that conformity, follow the rules. And you see a lot of that, and then you see people that sort of buck the system and thought outside the box that there could be something more. And this is where the question, I always say, ask questions, uh, question everything. As I say here in the delicious recipe, we throw everything in the pot and we see how it tastes at the end. And that's it. It's just asking questions and looking at things. And from my own experience of researching and looking at ancient cultures and ancient uh, stories, you like I said, you see these sort of common threads. And so we're getting into this one part here of the common thread of something of another culture, another civilization living inside the earth or something like that. And you have that. There's a part that you can look at too is the Hopi prophecies, the Hopi Indians, and they talk about there's a conjoined spiritual connection through the earth between the Hopi and the Tibetan culture. And where Shambhala is supposed to be is in the Himalayas, hidden away through a secret doorway. And I'll get into a little bit more of that there. But I found this sort of interesting is that the Hopi word for moon is the Tibetan word for sun, and the Hopi word for sun is the Tibetan word for moon. And the way that it was sort of explained is that they are the opposite of how they think because they're on both sides of the earth. And so when they're relating things, when they're in part, anyways, is that they're connected but opposite. And there's actually an interesting thing if you go into and look into the Hopi predictions of how the world goes. That they say right now that we are in the time or the epoch of the animal. There was before the rock, the plant, the water, and stuff like that. But we're in the animal. We haven't come to be a human being yet. And to get to that next level of being a human being is to when the four. It was this is sort of interesting. I'm probably not going to do this justice, but there was a split that happened during the time of animal where the black man, the red man, the yellow man, the white man, they all went in four different directions: north, south, east, west, and they were all given providence or uh, intellectual knowledge on a certain thing. One was of water, one was of sun, one was of earth, one was of something else. Anyways, is that during their time as they separated and went their own ways, eventually they would make them way back and they would share the information together. And that would be the time of changing from animal to human being, where there would be no prejudice, there would be no hate, there would be no war, destruction. That a joining of information of what I learned here to share with you, to all things, all the four sides or four parts of the compass come back together, and that will usher in the time of the human being where we can be uh, I guess socially civil to each other, not like how we are right now. I guess you could say we're still in this time of animal where we're still fighting wars and fighting over people and fighting over things. And this will come into this whole part about uh, countries and different things that have sort of gone forth to look for uh, ancient relics to give them, I guess, a bonus or a attributable power or some sort of advantage over another to control and move forward. And you see this throughout history. You see, if you look through the history of the earth, different cultures, how they have sort of expanded to take control of things. You look at Rome, there's the whole idea that Rome never fell. Rome just became the Vatican and kept on moving forward. And it's sort of interesting. You have the part there that went with Saddam Hussein and out there that dealt with the war, and the part that he was doing under you can fact check me and look into this stuff there too. Is but the story is that he was trying to uncover Nebuchadnezzar, and there's parts where he's gone and basically called himself that, and there's part in ancient prophecies about different people, entities, I guess you will, that move forward and they will gain great power. You look at the stories in text there of the Ring of Solomon. Now, the Ring of Solomon was a ring that was bestowed upon him from God, big G God. It goes into this, that gave him dominion and power over below, on earth, and above. And the Temple of Solomon, as the story goes, uh, he was able to get demons that were roamed on earth and to call them forth. And he knew the name of the angel that was able to best that demon to make it compliant in doing what it was. And so he got each demon, I think there was like 47 of them. Uh, you can double check me on that one there, anyways. But allowed him this power over them, so to build his huge Temple of Solomon. And now we have there today, we have people fighting over this piece of land, the rock over there in. You have three different basically religions fighting over one certain piece of property, and it's supposed to be that the Temple of Solomon to be rebuilt in some part in the future here, where it'll be the New Jerusalem, which will end up dealing with the apocalypse and the end of the apocalypse and the, I guess, the end of days thing. But that's another story there too as well. We'll get into that one too if you guys want there at a later time. But going into this part about dealing with uh, a hidden civilization or hidden people, they talk about this over in south in the southern part of North America, of the ant people, where the native people were taken down into safety underground by a subterranean people, to save them from a cataclysm. And whether that and timelines, whatever, can vary. And there is a sort of a cataclysm that happened, which was the younger Dryas. That's the theory on there, where there was a great flood and meltwater that happened that eroded different areas. It could be part of the flood story. Who knows? It's all under theory and speculation. But something happened about 12,500 years ago, where a great amount of water came and washed away the places in. Oh, I got a cat there meowing in the background, and washed away a lot of things. And this could be part that there was a civilization that was beforehand that that did things. Sorry about this. I'm gonna go and try and find where this. There it is. Anyways, this this is all part of this interesting story about what could be, and is there something more out there? There's lots of things. Well, another part about that about the temp Nebuchadnezzar, and was they were looking for stargates. And this is a theory that's out there, whether it's true or not. It could be all just fantasy, all be uh, just stories that are out there, but things that connect us, human people, that of a history that we've lost, that connects us to something that's more, whether it's dimensional, whether it's cross universal, whether it's right here, that we know, that we don't know of, or we're not aware of. Or that's where a lot of these mysticism and these theories and these stories come from. And a big one, like I said before, was Shambhala, that's supposed to be in Tibet. And Tibet's a very interesting place that holds a lot of with the Buddhist monks. And there's a whole story. We'll get into that part there too. But also, there's a part there that was written. If you remember the story of Admiral Byrd and Operation High Jump, and I'll just read a little bit of this there. This is from the Diary of Admiral Byrd, and this is what this is supposed to be, the secret lost history of Admiral Byrd, or lost diary. that he had written going across the North Pole that he was told that he was never supposed to speak of, but it was written and it was shared with a female friend of his, and then it was shared also with a doctor, I believe, and he had gone and transposed that and written it into text that you can read. But I'll read a little bit of here. This is a part of it because this deals with the hidden earth, and we'll get into this part there too about Shambhala. Is that Franklin Delano Roosevelt also funded the Rourke family in searching for Shambhala in Tibet under the guise of a scientific expedition on earth erosion and certain plants. But there's a whole really interesting story that goes with that. But let's start with this part with Admiral Byrd. This is just a little bit here. Okay, I'll read this. This is from galnetfandom.com. This is just one of them. So the reader of the following documentation should find a striking example of dire devotion, especially when one considers that this log diary was written in the year 1947 in the months of February and March, under circumstances that eventually defined the imagination and credibility for those times and for others. Here is dealt with the evident answers, the origin of the so called UFOs, as well as the hollow earth, or as the Admiral described, the land beyond the poles. Now, there's been a lot of conspiracy and speculation that NASA or satellites do not film or record anything over the North or the South Pole. That there is sort of like a spot or a hidden spot where it doesn't record. And well, the part is that the Earth is a huge magnet that's spinning, and that creates our magnetic field and helps us with the Van Allen belts that help protect us from solar radiation. So there's a lot of science that's out there that the way the Earth works, and there could be sort of areas uh, where instruments sort of work in a different way. I've relayed a story before about when I was prospecting in the bush, and we were around a huge area where there was a lot of magnetite in the ground, and our compasses would keep on reading in different directions. We could never follow a north-south route because they were just always hitting this huge load of mineral that was in the ground that would always pull the magnetic compass over to a certain direction. So you can end up walking around in circles. And there's different stories too of areas around the Earth where magnetic properties hold are a lot stronger and hold a different field, and things act a little bit differently. There's the Mystery House. There's one in the U.S. There's also landmarks and ancient burial sites and temple sites and altar sites that are all around the earth that are located along these ley lines, which are almost like magnetic lines that the earth produces as that huge ball of iron spins at the center of the earth and causes different effects on the earth. So anyway, so this part of Admiral Byrd's story goes into him going exploring the North Pole. Okay, see the land beyond the poles. The reader will relive that period as he reads this document. To say it is fascinating is a place of mildly, but to read it now for yourself, I know that you would conclude the Admiral's own words. Just as long as the Arctic ends, the brilliant sunshine of truth shall come forth again, and those who are of darkness shall fall in its light. Dr. D.B. Okay. So Admiral Richard T. Byrd's diary, February, March 1947, the exploration flight over the North Pole. The Inner Earth, My Secret Diary. I must write this diary in secrecy and obscurity. It concerns my Arctic flight of the 19th day of February in the year of 1947. There comes a time when the rationality of man must fade into insignificance, and one must accept the inevitability of the truth. I am not at liberty to disclose the following documentation at this writing. Perhaps it shall never see the light of public scrutiny, but I must do my duty and record here from all to read one day. In a world of greed and exploitation of certain exploration of certain of mankind can no longer suppress which is the truth. So at 600 hours, all preparations complete for our flight northward as we are airborne with fuel tanks at 610 hours, 620 hours. Fuel mixture, starboard engine seems too rich. Adjustment made. The Pratt Whitneys are running smoothly. 730 hours. Radio check with base camp. All is well. Radio reception is normal. 1740 note. Slight oil leak in starboard engine. Oil pressure indicator seems normal. However, 800 hours. Slight turbulence noted from easterly direction. An altitude of 2321 feet. Correction to 1700 feet. No further turbulence, but tailwinds increase. Slight adjustment in throttle controls. Aircraft performing very well. 1850 hours. Radio check with base normal. 830 hours. Turbulence encountered again. Increase altitude to 2900 feet. 910 hours. Vast ice and snow below. Correlation of yellowish nature and disperse of a linear pattern. Altering course. A better examination of this color pattern below. Note reddish or purple color also. Circle this area 2 full turns and return to the assigned compass heading. Position check made again to base camp and relay information concerning colorations in the ice and snow below. 910 hours. Both magnetic and gyro compasses beginning to gyrate and wobble. They were unable to hold our heading by instrumentation. Take bearing with sun compass, yet all seems well. The controls are seemingly slow to respond and have sluggish quality, but there is no indication of icing. 9:15. The distance is what appears to be mountains. 1949 hours, 29 minutes elapsed flight time from the first sighting of the mountains. It is no illusion. There are mountains and constant of small range that I have never seen before. Altitude to 2950 feet, encountering strong turbulence again. 1000 hours. We are crossing over the small mountain range and still proceeding northward as best as can be ascertained. Beyond the mountain range is what happens to be a valley with a small river or stream running through the center portion. There should be no green valley below. Something is definitely wrong and abnormal here. We should be over ice and snow. To the port side are great forests growing on the mountain slopes. Our navigation instruments are still spinning. The gyroscope is oscillating back and forth. At 10:05 hours, I alter altitude to 1400 feet and execute a sharp left turn to better examine the valley below. It is green with either moss or a type of tight-knit grass. The light here seems different. I cannot see the sun anymore. We make another left turn and we spot what seems to be a large animal of some kind below us. It appears to be an elephant. No, it looks more like a mammoth. This is incredible. Yes, there it is. Excuse me. Decrease altitude to 1,000 feet and take binoculars to better examine the animal. It is confirmed. It is definitely a mammoth-like animal. Report this to base camp. 10:30 hours. Encountering more rolling green hills now. The external temperature indicator reads 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Continuing on our heading now. Navigation instruments seem normal now. I am puzzled over their actions. Attempt to contact base camp. Radio is not functioning. At 11:30 hours, countryside below is more level and normal, if I may use that word. Ahead we spot what seems to be a city. This is impossible. Aircraft seems light and oddly buoyant. The controls refuse to respond. My God, off our port and starboard wings are a strange type of aircraft. They are closing rapidly alongside. They are disc-shaped and have a radiant quality to them. They are close enough now to see the markings on them. It is some type of swastika. This is fantastic. Where are we? What has happened? I tug on the controls again. They will not respond. We are caught in an invisible grip of some type. At 11:35 hours, our radio crackles and a voice comes through in English with what perhaps is a slight Nordic or Germanic accent. The message is, "Welcome, Admiral, to our domain. We shall land you in exactly 7 minutes. Relax, Admiral. You're in good hands. I note the engines of our plane have stopped running. The aircraft is under some sort of strange control. It is now turning itself. The controls are useless." So this is the part that comes into this story. So this is well, whether you want to believe this as being fantasy or some sort of made up story, but this was sort of hidden, and this was what he had relayed before his death, Admiral Byrd, that he was told not to share this. And this is where the speculation and conspiracy comes into this whole part about what is actually at the polls, that none of this stuff is sort of read or it's sort of hidden to the rest of the public on a need to know basis. But it's sort of an interesting story. I'll continue on here. Okay, so at 11:40 hours, another radio message received. We begin the landing process now. And in moments, the plane shudders slightly and begins a descent through as though caught in some great unseen elevator. The downward motion is negligible, and we touch down with only a slight jolt. 11:45 hours. So this is all before lunch. I am making a hasty last entry into the fight log. Several men are approaching on foot towards our craft, and they are tall with blonde hair. In the distance is a large shimmering city, pulsating with rainbow hues of color. I do not know what is going to happen now, but I see no signs of weapons on those approaching. I hear a voice ordering me by name to open the cargo door. I comply. End log. So that's all the parts that he'd had there, and whatever was conveyed through the memory of that. And part out of there is that the planes had sort of disappeared, and there's sort of a time where they were no longer seen. And this is the story that he was given to tell about this area of maybe underneath underneath the earth, or some sort of different thing. Now, whether or not this was a part for a story to keep other nations and that away, or to keep regular people away, that there was something out there that you would need some sort of military or some sort of there to go and deal with this to meet that. This is the, I guess, a sort of a different theory that's out there. Now, when you go into this other story, there's another one story of Edda Dorfa, The End of Earth, and it was written by the man who did it. And this goes into a story of a guy, the man who did it, that was, I believe, no, it was or Drury, or I can't remember. Anyways, I have to look more into this one. Anyways, as he was taken by some sort of hidden esoteric cult. People put a bag on it, and he was taken down to a cave in Kentucky. And this cave in Kentucky, he encountered a reptilian, albino type silky skinned entity, creature, and took him down into the inner earth, where traveled through that. And the story that goes through this, there's actually sort of two books here. There's Edda Dorfa, The End of Earth, by the man who did it. And the other book was Edda Dorfa, or The End of the Earth, The Strange History of a Mysterious Being and the Account of a Remarkable Journey. And that's by John Uri Lloyd. And this was sort of a redone story that was parlayed to him, that he had rewrote and given. And I guess with the book dealt with a lot of scientific physics and knowledge that was sort of involved. And that's why people started thinking, is this actually a true story or not, or this is a work of fantasy fiction. And but the part is conveying different things that were seen underneath the ground, bioluminescence, types of other parts of illumination light source that was there, that was able to grow plants in different configurations than what we see up here on flat level, or on the earth. And this also goes into the part with the Roques, or I always want to say their name wrong. It's Roerich, Rorsch. And actually, there was a part that was written about, I said this before, with the Rorsch family, is that the Rorsch Pact was passed in the 40s, or it was in the 40s, or Uh, 1935, FDR signs the Rorsch Pact, and what the Rorsch Pact was to preserve historical artificial effects. Where there is peace, there is culture. Where there is culture, there is peace. So that during World War One, two, and other wars that happened, is that ancient sites and ancient artifacts aren't destroyed needlessly through um, causes of conflict, and that history is preserved because, like I've always said, there is that to learn the past is to learn the future. When you start uh, deleting the past and deleting those things that are out there, the past is always set to uh, redo itself again. But this family, anyways, this, like I mentioned the part with the what was it called there again? Amamura, the gate of the gods. A special key, a golden disc, fell from heaven, and this, when placed inside the doorway, opened up a portal. Well, this is sort of the same sort of thing that happened with the Rourke family. There was his wife Helena. She was a sort of a mystic. They dealt with the occult. She dealt with talking to other beings, and that she was and he was into the Nicholas was into the same thing, into the occult, and he was very scientific. And he painted a lot. He painted a lot of pictures, realism pictures, impressionist stuff, and actually, there's a lot of museums, and his paintings are in Russia, in the U.S., and in other places. And like I said, there was a declaration or a pact that was signed about preserving history. But they, at the first part, they were sent off. They went off towards the Himalayas. Now, this is a sort of a real. This is actually a very in-depth story. How much time we got here? Got about 15 minutes, or I mean 10 minutes less. But I'll see if I can go through this very quickly. And what they were doing was Helena was given some sort of in the early 1900s. She was given this sort of message to her about finding a hidden land, Shambhala, and they knew that it was through Buddhist and Tibetan and different religions, that there was a speculation that it was somewhere hidden in the Himalayas or out that way in those mountains. And you figured that the Tibetan people in China, there was conflicts that were going there. Tibet was totally closed down. It was being ruled by basically I don't know how to say, what's not pirates, bandit groups, and it was very secluded. And actually, even in today's history, planes actually don't even fly over Tibet, and the reason being because of the Himalayas are so high, but also there is nothing down there. So if there is some type of engine failure or anything like that, there is no place to land or no place to get service or assistance. So commercial flights and that they usually fly around that area. But they were given this sort of this idea of they had to find Shambhala to go find this area. Now I'm gonna probably jump around a lot because I wrote this out of order here. But in 1913, his name Nicholas Roche, the father, uh, he helped in the construction of the first Buddhist temple in Russia, and he became close to a teacher, the 13th the 13th Dalai Lama. And during this time of the construction, that and his closeness with the teacher of the Dalai Lama, he was esoteric information was shared, and he had learned about about the religion, and he learned about Shambhala and this hidden area underground. Now, some people will call this Shambhala Agartha. It's been called different names, but Shambhala was this hidden area with beings that were down there that possessed other than humanly expertise and powers, and I guess you would say that things that work up here probably don't work down there. They're just different things to go through. And he was given this sort of information, and he was told about this stone. And this comes into this whole thing. This is why I relayed that part about the sun disk that fell from heaven for the doorway into the gods. There is that there was this stone. It's called hopefully I don't burn this. The Chintamani stone, a magical stone of another world, and it's a meteorite that fell from the constellation Orion. Now, there's part of it that says that it could be molderite. This stone, molderite is a very heavy, not heavy, very actuated magnetic properties to it, and it's used a lot in occult practices, in for summoning and rituals and stuff like that. But they said that this stone, the whole part there is to bring you to the king's tower at the center of Shambhala. The stone lets you, and if you touch the stone, it allows you to see the past, present, and future. It exudes a type of energy to you. Now, this part of this stone, this I'll say it again, Chintami stone. It they've referenced it to be almost like the philosopher's stone, which it allows you to live forever. That's basically you can't die, but a magical stone in that type of nature. But this stone there was also it had broken into several pieces, but actually into three fragments. And during this part is that if you had possession of the stone, if you knew the entrance to this area, you would be able to pass through from this earthly area into the inner earth. It opened up a doorway. You think about it like when in Lord of the Rings, when they were searching to get into the dwarven kingdom, and they had to go through the door, and they needed to speak the words, and it opened up the door, and they were able to get in there. Well, this is basically what these magical objects, or these mystic objects, are, and allow someone to pass through into a different realm, dimension, part of time and space, I guess you could say, and learn from, or just experience and learn from places. But they had come across, they'd gone there, and the family, the Rourke family, with several people, they had gone to the Himalayas through Tibet. They traveled through, documenting everything. He had kept a diary, of scientific diary, and then an esoteric diary is what is parlayed through this. And he was a painter, and he painted 500 different pictures of what he saw in his. That's why they call him a realism, or whatever. He painted what he actually saw, and what he depicted through there. As the story goes through, the first one they go through is during 5 years, they traveled through many different mountain passes, searching for this entrance into Shambhala. And during this part, though, is that you have World War One, before World War II, and you had funding that was happening there from the Russians, from the British, and later from the Americans, because whatever they might have found, because they were, I guess the part out of it is that they were believed to be that they held some sort of mystic sort of thing that could lead somebody to get some sort of power, which would help them in their fight during the war, during anything. And this has been a long thing. The Nazis also did the same thing with going out to find the Ark of the Covenant, to find the Spear of Destiny, the spear that was supposedly stabbed into Jesus Christ on the cross. And if you had that spear point, that would you would never fall in battle. You would also win. But there's a lot of different artifacts from ancient religious, ancient tablets, ancient lore that these nations have sort of gone out and find. So during this part is that this Rourke family had gone out with a bunch of people, and they'd gone through the Himalayas to go and search for Shambhala, and hopefully find some sort of culture, or some sort of hidden artifact that would eventually come back to whatever country, and that would give them sort of some sort of benefit advantage. So during the first part of their journey, he'd gone through for 5 years, and during 1 year, they'd sort of disappeared for a year. It's called the hidden year. And the only part that's written about is the last 5 months where they were actually found in a prisoner of war camp or some sort of a bandit camp. But for the 7 months prior, there was no sort of instance of where they were. There was nothing written down. And people speculate that they actually found the way in. Now, there is a part that this monastery uh, called Trismalumptu Lamasery. This is in Tibet. In this Buddhist monastery, a monk presented a 5-inch black crystal stone called the lapis exilis, the stone of exile, one of the 3 split pieces, fragments of the Chintamani meteorite. Uh, and like I said, there were moldavite highly material there. But on this, it was given to Nicholas Rourke, and on this 5-inch stone was written in Sanskrit, and the tune was being through the star I come, I bring the chalice covered with the shield. Within it, I bring the treasure, the gift of Orion. See, and that's the part where this Chamari meteorite it come from Orion. That's the part of the myth and the lore of this story that goes through there. And within this lamasery, this Buddhist temple at the back, when he went in there for his second trip back in there, which was funded by FDR, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, because these expeditions cost a lot of money, and hopefully this stuff was going to be brought back to the U.S. But along this whole part of this story is that a bunch of their expedition party were spies from Russia, from Britain, from the U.S. And there's also thought that the Rourke family might have been double agents there too, because during one part of their expedition, during in between the first and second, they had gone back and they relayed a bunch of information to Russia where they should have gone a different way, but they went that way. And so there's a lot of speculation involved. But this part with this second time that they had gone in, and they funded by the U.S. They had disappeared for a course of 3 months, where nobody knew where they went. They just basically disappeared. The family disappeared off the face of the earth, and they think with this stone, before Nicholas had returned the stone back to the monk, is that they had gone back and they'd gone into Shambhala, and they had learned from the people down there of what the purpose and why they're not there to help, that we're still in this age of animal, like what the Hopi Indian had said, that we were in this epoch of animal. We haven't come to be the human being where we've become to share information and come together in peace and I guess peace, love, and prosperity, and sharing where there is no more sort of violence. But there's more to this story too that deals with this, and it almost sounds apocryphal, like in the Bible of the end of days there too, where where evil tries to triumph over good, and then good basically wins out, and the world becomes a cohesive, caring sort of place. But another interesting part here is that I remember I told you there about the 13th Dalai Lama and Nicholas Rourke being in conversation with the teacher of the 13th Dalai Lama. And so during a part of this, the 13th Dalai Lama, after the Rourkes had done their second expedition, ordered that all the Chintamani fragments, all 3 of them, be stowed away in secret locations. Any of the 3 fragments can find and allow entrance into Shambhala. So he had ordered that these fragments be hidden away, and who knows, at another time, another place, whatever history sort of unfolds, will allow these things to come back in. But the story gets more involved in this. But like I said, these are all little bits of stories that are in there. I can go into more parts about the Rourke family and the history with them and the cult members that they were involved with, and there was a lot of them during this time in the early 1900s. Blavatsky, the female European uh, occultist that was able to communicate with different beings, and there's a whole bunch of them. I think there's about, I think there's 21 of them that all had sort of certain interests and powers that governments and the powers that be were looking to employ to get these trinkets of the past. But anyways, we'll leave it at that. We'll leave it on that story. Oh yes, and I forgot to tell you what the Caramilk secret is. So there was a big commercial campaign that went off about 20 something years ago. I believe it was about 20. It could be a little bit longer than that. And they had a whole bunch of commercials out there. It says, "What is the Caramilk secret?" And if you remember what a Caramilk bar, right, it has the chewy or the creamy caramel into the center, and as soon as you bit into it, it would just drip out. And people were saying, "Well, how do you get this creamy caramel into the center of this coated chocolate bar?" And you could break off little squares and pieces. Actually, I had a bar here, but I forgot where I put it there. Anyways, the part about the caramel secret, and if you go to any part of any chocolatier that makes candy treats or chocolate treats and stuff like that, is what it was is that the caramel had uh, an enzyme put into it there, or a part, and also it was placed into a tablet area so that at room temperature that it would become liquid. So you'd pour half the chocolate bar that had the cavity in there that was there. You drop the caramel that was sort of semi solid but not gooey, and then you would coat the bottom of the bar with the chocolate there, and now you have one complete bar with this caramel center. And as it gets to room temperature, the caramel goes back to its ooey gooey goodness of dripping caramel out of the bar. And so that was what the caramel secret was. But you can check that out there also on YouTube and on there, and check out any chocolatier sites or any shows and stuff like that, and they show you how they put coat things in chocolate and how they get certain things like that. But that is part of the caramel secret, and this has been the delicious recipe. And thank you all for listening along. And we'll check you all out there next Thursday, and we'll see where we go from there. What stories in that? I have different guests that'll be showing up later on this month and into next month. But thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll check you all later.